Hello, my friends. Welcome to the What If Project vlog. My name is Glenn Siepert. I'm the host of the podcast, and it's a pleasure and an honor to see you here with us today. This vlog usually goes out to Patreon supporters. So everybody who gives $3 a month all the way up to whatever gets this vlog every single week. But I've had a couple people tell me that sometimes, maybe not all the time, but once in a while, I might say something that's a little bit helpful. And so that maybe a wider audience would benefit from this. So I don't know. We're going to test the theory. We're going to test the hypothesis. We're going to see if those people are correct in their thinking. So I'm going to put it on YouTube. I'm going to put it on various other social media platforms. If you find it helpful, smash the like button, as the kids say. I think that's what they say. I don't know. If you don't like it, I guess hit the dislike button and tell me you don't like it. I'm sure there's plenty of haters out there. So I'm sure somebody somewhere is either going to not like my hoodie, not like what I have to say, not like the way I talk, not like anything about what I do. But that's fine. Go ahead and dislike it. That's cool too. But what do I do with these vlogs? Usually I'll share with you a little bit about, I always have coffee, by the way, I always have coffee. But usually I'll share with you a little bit about something that I'm thinking about. Maybe it's something related to the Bible. Maybe it's something related to God. Maybe it's something related to something going on in my life, something going on in the world, something I'm reading, something I'm writing, something I'm thinking about, something somebody said to me, something I saw, whatever. I just come here and I flip on the camera. I don't have any notes. Don't have any notes in front of me. I don't have any real agenda. I have an idea to kind of run with, and we just kind of see where it goes as I stumble over my thoughts and share them with you. I'm reading a book. I have in front of me my iPad. I'm reading a book called dun, 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 called Jesus and the Bicameral Brain by Dr. James Danaher. You see my highlights right there. Dr. James Danaher. Interesting thing about him, he was actually my professor in college, and he was my philosophy professor. So my very first ever class at Naya College was an 8 a.m. philosophy class with Dr. Danaher, Simpson Hall, top floor, huge room, tons of freshman students, maybe a couple of older people in there as well. I just lost my page that I wanted to share with you. Dag, nabbit, whatever. I'm going to have to go from memory, I guess. I don't know where it is. Where is it? Where did it go? Where did it go? Anyway, so it was the first class with him, first taste of college. And we've stayed in touch all these years. And he's been on the podcast before to share some thoughts about other books he's written. He's known as one of the one of the original heretics. I followed in his footsteps, but he's been a very big encouragement to me in my journey, to my family, my faith, and I'm grateful for him. He mailed me his book. It's not here yet, but he sent me the PDF copy, which I've been highlighting and tearing apart. But bicameral brain. I had to Google the word because I didn't know what bicameral meant. I have a doctorate. I didn't know what that meant. I was like, what is bicameral? What does that mean? So I went to Google, typed it in. Bicameral, essentially, and might not have this exactly right. Okay, I'm not a philosopher. I'm not a neurologist. I'm not a scientist. So forgive me if this is not 100% accurate. Dr. Danaher, if you're watching this, when we talk in a couple of weeks for the podcast, you can correct me and tell me that I was wrong. But bicameral refers to two separate chambers in the brain. So you have the left chamber and you have the right chamber. And both of those chambers work together to help us live a functional life. But the left chamber and right chamber do two very different things. The left chamber is kind of the part of your brain that is focused on obtaining knowledge, facts, truth. That would be the part of your brain that's all about, like, I guess, math and science and knowing things, all about obtaining knowledge and facts and truth, maybe like an absolute truth. It's pursuit of what is the answer. That's the left side of the brain. The right side of the brain is more like the imaginary part of your brain, maybe the imagination of your mind, the part of your brain that's able to kind of go beyond language, beyond what you can obtain and understand through a written word. I consider I could read this book, I can dissect it, I can know it, I can know all the facts of everything that Dr. Danaher says in the book. That's my left brain. But my right brain is like, I read this sentence and I'm going way beyond what the sentence says to try to think about what does this look like in my life? Is this true in is this the way it looks in my life? Could it maybe look a little bit different in my life? Does it vary in your life in the way that you understand something? It kind of goes beyond the written word and helps me to embrace my imagination, to imagine how these words might fit in my life, in your life, in the world, whatever. So you have the left brain, all about facts. The right brain is bigger than facts, goes beyond facts, goes beyond language, and it goes to something bigger and to something deeper. It's about your being able to imagine something. So two parts of the brain, bicameral brain. So anyway, I'm reading this book and I'm thinking about, for most of my life, most of my adult life, and in my childhood, I lived out of the left part of my brain, especially in regards to my faith. Right? It was all about trying to understand, to gain knowledge about God, the Bible, all the different things, trying to figure out, make God knowable, make God into this being that I can wrap my fingers around. I can manipulate in a way, right? I can behave in a certain way and try to coax God to give me the things that I want, or the things that I pray for, the things that I ask for, to give me a blessed and joy-filled life. That's all the left brain, right? Trying to understand and make God knowable, and make the things of God knowable, be able to outline on a page. This was the way it was in school, right? Think about college, think about seminary. I have a bachelor's degree in youth ministry and a minor in Bible, got my master's in church development, doctorate in global Christian leadership, took all these classes about systematic theology and language classes and church history classes. And although all those classes were different, all taught by different professors, one of the things that was at the heart of not all of them, but a lot of them, was what is the answer? What is the Bible trying to teach us? And definitely when we took like a homiletics class, which is like a preaching class, you have to get up, you have to talk about the Bible. So you got to put together this outline of what is the big idea that this passage is trying to get at. And is there one big idea? What is the one big idea? Let's look at the culture of the text, look at the background, look at the languages, let's just look at all this stuff and try to figure out what is the main point that the author was trying to make when he wrote this particular letter. And that's what it was all about. But then I started to ask questions about these things, right? I started to ask questions about different Bible passages that I was taught growing up. I started to ask questions about Jesus and the cross and salvation and heaven and hell and gay people and all this stuff. And I was taught about all these things to understand them in one way, right? The left-brained way. The left brain says, this is what the passage says about hell. This is what the passage says about homosexuality. This is what the passage says about the cross, salvation. This is what it means. No questions asked. Move on to the next thing, right? We figured it out. The left brain has figured out the answer. But now I'm in this place where my right brain has kind of like knocked on the door of my left brain. Said, hello over there. Maybe you don't have it all figured out. That's what this podcast is about, right? The What If Project. What if there are ways of thinking about God and faith and the Bible and Jesus and the cross and LGBTQ people and the church and all these different things that are just a little bit different than the ways in which our traditions have handed us. Our tradition, very left brain, says this is the way. But the What If Project is asking, what if there are more ways to imagine this thing and how it works out, how it plays out in our life and in our world? And for a while that was hard. It's still hard, right? Because I want to grasp onto knowing the answer. Remember when I first started to ask a lot of questions, the first topic that really wrecked me was hell. I don't remember. Actually, I do remember. I was reading Rob Bell's book, Love Wins. I have it right up there on my shelf. I have a whole shelf of Rob Bell books right there because I'm that guy. But anyway, I was reading that book and I remember it wrecked me. And I put it away for a while and I kind of let it simmer on the back burner of my brain, of the left brain, not the right brain. And then it kind of started to awaken again. And I remember I went on to Twitter and I found Brian McLaren. And I was asking him all these questions because nothing was making sense to me. And I was sitting in all this ambiguity, all this uncertainty, all this doubt. And I was asking these questions. If this is true, what do I do with John 3:16? He would give me an answer. Okay, well, what do I do with this verse? Right? And all these verses I didn't know what to do with because I needed to have the answers. I spent my whole life having the answers. Brian, give me the answers to the questions I'm asking you. I need to know what to do with these verses to make them fit into this new understanding I'm having of the Bible. And then I moved over to the topic of LGBTQ people because I became friends with LGBTQ people. And I was taught all my life that gay people are evil. They're bad. All they want is to give into their sexual desires, and that's what they live for. And they're horrible, terrible people. But I became friends with a lot of them. And I'm like, they're not really horrible people. They're actually really nice. And I like them a lot better than a lot of the church people that I know. So like, what do I do with these 6 verses that I have? And for the longest time, I didn't know what to do with them. There's 6 clobber verses, 6 or so. You can maybe have a little bit more, but whatever. There's 6 like main ones, clobber verses that are used to tell gay people that they're living in sin, right? That they're sinful people who aren't welcome in God's presence, whatever. What do I do with these verses, right? My heart or the right brain is telling me these people are actually very kind. They're very nice. They're some of them are Christians. They're great people. My left brain is telling me, no, there's these 6 verses. They say what they say. And I didn't know what to do with that. I didn't know how to live in that ambiguity. But finally, I got to the point where I said, you know what? I was going to run with my heart. I'm going to run with the right brain. I'm going to assume that there's more ways to understand these verses than the one way that I've been taught. And so living in that ambiguity is something I've become more and more comfortable with as time has gone on, as I've moved on to topics about the Bible, topics about salvation, the cross, the end times. There's a lot of things I don't have any answers for, but I'm comfortable saying that the way that I've been taught to understand those things is not the only way, likely is not really the way, but there's many ways to think about them. And just living in that ambiguity, that uncertainty, and imagining out of the right brain that maybe there's more ways to think about these things than the one way that I've been taught. So anyway, those are some of the things that have been toying around in my head. I hope that maybe you find them helpful in your own spiritual journey. Know that you're not alone. That's what this podcast is for, is to make you feel less crazy. There are some people who listen to it just because they hate it, and they let me know that, and that's fine. But the idea of this podcast is for it to be a lifeboat. It's a lifeboat that's trailing behind the good ship evangelicalism. We have a lot of ex-evangelicals who listen to the podcast. And so this is a lifeboat following behind that ship, picking up people who have fallen off the ship. They've jumped off, they've been pushed off, whatever. They're out in the water, the sea of questions and doubts and uncertainty. This is a boat to get into, to dry off, to find more people who are on the same part of the journey that you're on, to ask your questions, to feel your doubts, and to hopefully feel a little bit less crazy with where you're at in this season of your life. So thank you for dropping by. Thank you for hitting the play button if you're still listening. Thank you for listening. If you liked it, hit the like. If you dislike it, hit the dislike, whatever. Leave a comment, send me some thoughts. Much love to you, and have a beautiful and wonderful week. Peace.